Good parenting is not instinctual for many. If you've inherited a toolbox with some gaps in it, then chances are in those interactions with your children, you can see those gaps. And that's why I created the C.L.E.A.R method. And that's why I help parents learn and practice the C.L.E.A.R method so that they can identify the gaps in their toolbox and then learn specific methods, strategies, and tools to help reinforce and repair their toolbox so they feel better parenting. It's not fun to yell. It's not fun to punish. It's not fun to live in stress and conflict. I actually call this the yell, guilt, gift cycle, where you lose it and then you feel guilty and then you make some sort of bid for repair without any real behavior change or supports. And that leads you to yell again, feel guilty, gift something, and so on and so on. So on. It's a drag. It sucks. It's heavy. And so that's why I teach my clients a different cycle to practice. And I'm going to teach you those 5 steps today. From the top, the 5 steps are connection, limit, empowerment, accountability, recovery. I teach my clients to move through tiny conflicts and big conflicts and everyday interactions like potty training, bedtime, sibling work, homework through this method. This method was born out of a reflection process where I started to reflect on not only the ways that I showed up with children, but how I observed others show up with children. And I started to notice that we go in hot and we lead with limits most of the time, where we ask a yes or no question right away, like they're watching a TV show and then we walk in and say, did you get your homework done, right? We ask like a yes or no question just right from the gate. Or we tell them what to do, or we nag them, or we remind them and lecture them. All of these habits I call leading with limits. Most of the time, they're doing something else, and we're interrupting that because we have a demand that we want met. And with a child with an easy temperament, perhaps they adjust, but with a child with a difficult temperament, that's not going to fly. They're going to ping up a defense real quick. They're going to shoot up one of their fight, flight, freeze, fawn responses, or they're just going to give you a filler answer and not a real answer. So then I would observe after the limit was set, or the question was asked or the demand given, then we would jump very quickly to accountability, where we would threaten them or punish them or bribe them or treat them or give them a consequence right away. And the result of that is that children don't see their role in it. They actually think that you then become the bad guy. They don't see that they had autonomy or agency in that process because you're the problem. You're the bad guy. You're the meanie. This is where it falls into those 4 R's of punishment, where it pings up revenge, resentment, rebellion, or retreat. After I would make these observations, seeing this limit, accountability, power struggle, blow up, mess, I would ask my clients what their hopes and parenting goals are. What do they hope their children have in terms of characteristics, and what do they hope that they bring into their future relationships? And they would say some of these things, all of these things, more than these things. Things like, I want them to be happy, I want them to be curious, I want them to be compassionate, I want them to listen, and I want them to feel like they can ask for help no matter what, and that they have patience and a good work ethic and be a good friend, and all of these really great traits and characteristics. And then we would see how they align, right? Does leading with limits and jumping to accountability in those messy moments give space for any of these characteristics to be built, nurtured, and fostered? Not really, right? It becomes ineffective, and our goals then become misaligned with our actions. And your actions are something that you can change. So let's change our actions to align to these goals. I started to ask myself, what's missing? What's missing from this system? And I identified 3 things. I identified connection, empowerment, and recovery. In other words, personal understanding, decision-making, and reflection and reconnections. And so I added them to the system. Instead of leading with the limits and inviting a defense, I invite parents to lead with connection. This helps us lead with understanding, allowing the child to feel seen, heard, and understood. After that, then we can redirect and set and affirm the limits. This way, everybody's on the same page. It's very clear and concrete. The next step we move in is into empowerment, the choice, followed by the accountability, the follow through. And finally is recovery, which is where we do repair work, reflection work, rest work, reinforcement work, all of these juicy R words that allows us to have resolve and reconnection. Each of these steps are like little buckets. And inside of all these buckets are different strategies, concrete strategies, like emotional validation, like bending below, on or below eye level, like reflective listening, like curious questions, like family meetings, setting and holding boundaries, creating a child-led routine, creating agreements, natural consequences. These are concrete tools that you can learn, and then in learning them, you can go and actually practice them. And it's in the practice of them that you start to ditch the yell, guilt, gift cycle and start to begin practicing the CLEAR method so that you feel clear and kind in your parenting. If you're ready to get started, you can find all of my resources, free resources and paid resources, in my bio link.